Good evening and welcome to Thoughts Too Big for My Head Season 6, Episode 322, Day 2120. Fellow challengers and Challenge Nation, tonight's episode is Bond Market. Back in 2022, Amazon bought MGM Studios for $6.1 billion. Now they control, they're the creative, they're the movie studios that produced all the Bond movies. Within the last week or so, Amazon purchased the full rights to the whole Bond library and the Bond characters. Some estimate uh, that sum is in the neighborhood of $1 billion. But now the big question is, didn't Bond fight oligarchs with grand hegemonic plans that destabilized the balance between the East and the West? Didn't he fight those guys who planned to dominate the entire world? It seems like a strange parking place for a character like Bond, a former MI6 super agent, been around since the 50s in the books. David Niven was in the first Bond movie of Casino Royale, which was a spoof. And then it went to Sean Connery. And then there was George Lazenby for one. Roger Moore, Pierce Brosnan, Timothy Dalton, and finally Daniel Craig. What happened here? And now that Daniel Craig is retired, there is a need for a new Bond. With the geopolitical stresses right now, with the U.S. threatening to leave NATO, where does Bond fit in? That an American would have full control over the intellectual property of Ian Fleming's super spy. It will be interesting to see who replaces Bond. What sorts of thematic stories are we going to tell? Will art be permitted to reflect reality? Or will Bond be relegated to the ash heap, the dusty ash heap of trivia and history? Politics can go either way with Bond, if you want to look at it in that regard. As they were written by Ian Fleming, they reflected the zeitgeist, the spirit of the times. So there were unsavory racial overtones and explicit statements, as well as misogyny woven through the fabric of those stories. Big questions here abound with regard to how do you start and tell the stories going forward. And if we maintain the spirit of Bond, who is Bond's natural enemy now? When you have an enduring character for 60 or 70 years, it strikes me that the character has to be updated. The character must be brought into the current time with struggles against the enemies of the current zeitgeist as well. What will this look like? I don't have an answer. Here's what I do know. I can check out all the Bond films and watch with nostalgia because I grew up on so many of those Bond movies. I can hang on to those and smile. I can laugh at the campy ones of Roger Moore. I can really dig into the seriousness of Sean Connery, even when he comes back with Never Say Never Again, which is a remake of Thunderball. Pierce Brosnan's movies, Timothy Dalton's movies, and ultimately the more fully fleshed out character as portrayed by Daniel Craig. Until that time, I look at that price tag and I think, someone's bullish for this bond market. That's it for season 6, episode 322, day 2120 of Thoughts Too Big for My Head. Life is rich, especially when you see the changes in a fictional childhood, teenage, and even adult hero. Fellow challengers and Challenge Nation, make something happen. Leave me a comment if you care to. I appreciate your feedback, and as always, rest easy and may your burdens be light. Good night.